Here with Auburn head coach Hugh Freeze. Coach, got to start with this. You roll up here, nice looking suit. The people can't see though that you went with some Jordans today.
I did.
I talked to Mr. Taylor, your SID, and he
Yeah.
said, "Hey, listen, that was his call. Like he made the check on that one to go suit and Jordans. Walk us through that thought process."
Truthfully, my daughter made that call.
It's a good look.
This is not my look. Normally, I've never worn a suit and worn sneakers with it. But I think Reagan and our assistant AD, Lee Van Horn, kind of said, we're going to Nike. Won't you honor them today? So we're thankful for Mr. Knight and Nike. And, yeah, they are more comfortable than those dress shoes.
I was going to say, like, walking around Radio Row, I'd much prefer wearing a pair of Nikes
than any
other kind of dress
I guess
shoes.
I see why some other coaches have done that before. And I just have never it's kind of not my style, but I guess it looks okay.
Well, you mentioned the Nike deal. I have to imagine, like, just the Nike cool factor and what that is in the recruiting trail. Have you felt any of that when talking to, this upcoming class in the recruiting?
Yeah, you know me by now. I'm pretty transparent. I don't know that the brand matters a whole lot in recruiting anymore, truthfully.
Sure.
I don't know if it matters if you're Nike or Under Armour or Adidas or whoever else, but for us, the right deal was Nike. I do think it moves the needle probably in basketball a little bit more. But there's no question our kids are super excited about the Nike stuff they've seen, and it's still coming in, and I love seeing their reaction to it.
So we talked about a year ago in the spring. You told us a story about how you sort of put it before your team, like, hey, tell me what you want your values to be for this team, and we'll go from there. Was there a similar process this past spring with this group and this leadership council, and what was that conversation?
Same exact process. Obviously elect a new, council, and we've actually done that. We did that for the spring. Then you have a lot of newcomers, and then we redid it at the beginning of summer. It changed just a little, and people like Jackson got elected to it, which they weren't there to get elected in January, but they went through the spring, and then so that was good to see. And they have the same standards. They're responsible for holding those kids that are on their team to that standard. And, what are our consequences when we don't? I mean, because there's consequences in football and life when we do things that are really not measured up to the standard. And you get a team together that, I mean, the high achievers are not going to like the others and vice versa, probably. And I just don't know that you ever can achieve greatness until 80 to 90% of them buy in.
You mentioned Jackson. When you went to the transfer portal and got him, what were some of those key factors, those key boxes you wanted checked in going to grab a quarterback, and what made him the right fit?
Yeah, there was obviously you had a few red flags in that they did not throw it real well. All right, so what are the factors for that? So you have to go look at that, because bottom line, I was going to go with my gut, because out of high school, I thought he was one of the best I'd seen in years. So did everyone else.
Yes, we did too.
Yeah, Gatorade Player of the Year, and I just know what I had seen. And then you start looking at, he wasn't protected really well, and I think they had suffered a lot of injuries. And even us last year, Jay, this, I mean, it wasn't always, Peyton. You had a lot of young guys, and they run the wrong route, or they're the wrong depth, or we didn't protect great. And I think he experienced that and just needed a reboot and a rebuild of his confidence. We got to get his confidence. And I think it's grown and grown and grown. And he seems really on point right now.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to ask just how do you build a quarterback's confidence coming into a new place? Is that something where you meet on a weekly basis and have conversations about what he likes, or how do you go about kind of reinstilling that in someone?
I tell you, I did something that I'm pretty old school with a lot of things, but I did a personality test for all of our players and coaches, because I wanted to know if I could better help with this issue. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. Obviously learned a lot about Deuce and Jackson and others and coaches. And And so I think I really have a good peg on how Jackson needs to be coached and what gives him confidence. But nothing is going to reveal it until we get on the field and play.
You mentioned Deuce Knight, and I get to sit back here and play the college football video game.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, whenever I put Deuce Knight in the game here and there,
things happen.
Football, I'm like, hey, this guy's got a pretty solid overall when it comes to the agility and that nature. Is that something that you anticipate baking in this upcoming year? Like, hey, we're going to have a package produced this week or that week?
Yeah, I think it's a little early to tell. I mean, I think Deuce is going to be really, really special. And listen, and people don't talk about Ashton, but he accounted for over 3,000 yards last year at Stanford, and I like him a lot too. And so, ideally, would it be you really don't know. I mean, you hope Jackson goes out and just has an incredible year and great things happen for him, and then Deuce is ready, but you just don't know. We've got to go see who performs, and who the bottom line for a quarterback is who can lead us to wins.
You mentioned Ashton Daniels. I pointed off the screen for those watching on YouTube because our producer, Caden Smith, has been like, hey, Ashton Daniels is another quarterback there. Now he's played some Power 4 football.
And he ran away from some really good teams.
Yes.
So, I mean, on some runs that against really good football teams.
It's just it feels like a very stacked roster for you just across the board. Receiver room especially. I think anyone that cracks open a preview magazine like, oh, they got some guys on the outside. As a play caller, how exciting is that for you, and how much do you plan to maybe even change what you've done in the past relative to this?
Yeah, I honestly feel like it rivals, the receiver rooms I had in the days at Ole Miss when we were really good there, and could. Now we're still we're sophomores at some, but we brought in some experience with Horatio and Eric Singleton, and so I think that combination and another year of the Malcolm Simmons and Perrys and Cams learning how to play the position are going to pay great dividends for our quarterbacks. Now, look, there's no secret. We've got to get those guys some touches. Eric Single can do things with the hands, with the ball in his hands, and Malcolm Simmons can. And obviously the one-on-one shots with Cam and Perry, those big, and Horatio, those big outside guys in our RPO world. That's when we've been really good through the years, when we won 10 games at Ole Miss, even at Lambeth, at Arkansas State, won 10 at Liberty in a year. And those years that we did that, man, we didn't do a whole lot, but our quarterbacks understood it, and we had guys that could make plays when it was called upon. And I think we're there now where let's just be really good at what we do and be sure these certain guys have got to get some touches.
Just kind of like the last question I had for you. You mentioned the roster. We talked about the leadership council and kind of the values. How much does this feel like, okay, this is now my team. This is a Hugh Freeze team now going into another year on the Plains.
Yeah.
It feels like it's my DNA within it.
Well, God willing, we stay healthy. And if we do, I think we love the expectations that we have on ourselves, because there's enough there to go compete in every single game. And I think we had enough bad breaks last year that this year maybe the good ones to come. And we have Alex McPherson back. Don't forget, who was 100% in field goals the year before his sickness. And I think that's going to play a huge dividends for us also. But, I mean, there's enough in that building right now that we should compete in every game.
Awesome. Coach Hugh Freeze, best dressed man at SEC Media Days. Appreciate all your time.
First.
Appreciate all your time.